The Kahuna Maverik panel has an output to connect an external touchscreen GUI. The external GUI is laid out with the main menu selection buttons on the left-hand side. Along the bottom are the delegates, which select which part of the switcher you're controlling. Further along are specific buttons for recording macros, assigning modulators, and copying and pasting. There are also navigation buttons bottom right for going backwards and forwards through menus, or going back up the menu tree. The blue button takes you to a pop-up which allows you to dial in a specific menu number, or, on the left, there are buttons to take you to your recently visited pages, and on the right are 10 buttons which you can set to take you to your favourite menus for quick access. Simply hold down one of these and it will store the menu currently selected. If you're using a mouse on this GUI, the right click will normally take you to this pop-up. On the right-hand side of the GUI are the control adjusters. When you are on a menu with multiple adjustments, each menu is divided up into regions, which can contain up to 5 adjustments. When you select a region by touching on it, the 5 selected are shown with red dots. These relate to the 5 selectors or slider controls on the right-hand side. To the right of these is a button. If this button is green, it shows that the value of the adjustment is currently set to its default value. If you change the value, the button turns orange. Hitting this button once will snap the value to the nearest rounded off value. Hitting it a second time will cause it to return to the default value, and the button will go green again. You can step up and down a selector list by touching the upper or lower values in the selector window. If you touch on the top of any adjuster panel, it brings up a pop-up to allow the required value to be dialed in, or, in many cases, the pop-up contains all the available selections as individual buttons. On this GUI, all the buttons are color-coded. Blue buttons will take you to another menu or pop-up, and grey buttons are used to select functions. These will go green when the function is active, and orange if they are active but in a modified state. Grass Valley produce a separate module called Meg to add physical knobs to your GUI. If you don't have access to a Meg, it's still possible to use the knobs on the panel to control variables. There are 2 ways to do this. The first is using the Kia module. It's important to make sure that the external GUI is connected to the same unit in the panel cluster. If in doubt, ask an engineer to do this. By pushing the 2 small up-down buttons on the Kia panel, the knobs are now attached to 3 of the adjusters on the GUI. This is shown by white squares on the GUI. Pushing the up-down buttons will change which of the adjusters is attached. The OLED window next to the knob will show the parameter being adjusted. Pushing the knob down once will snap to the nearest round number, and double push will reset to the normal default value. The other way to attach knobs is using the Mav GUI. Go to the Star page and hit the Soft GUI control button. The external GUI will now show coloured squares next to the adjuster panels. These colours correspond to the knob colours on the Mav GUI. You can switch between the upper 3 knobs and the lower 3 with the Mav GUI buttons next to the knobs. Again, pushing the knobs down will snap the value, and a double push will normalise the value. This Mav page also gives you a tracker pad to move a pointer around the external GUI with selector buttons underneath. Many menus show a table with a scroll bar on the right. You can also usually scroll up or down by using a knob control on the right of the GUI, or you can bring up a pop-up to dial in a specific line on the table. This GUI can be set to jump to menus when certain actions are made on the attached panel. This is menu tracking, and individual tracking options can be set on the GUI preference page. That's menu 8895. There is also a global disable tracking button on the GUI to disable all menu tracking on all the GUIs.